Welcome to Girlfriends of a Certain Age, a podcast for women in midlife. We are busy living our best lives. I'm your co host, Fleshay Hesh. I'm a business coach and work life balance expert for women.
And I'm your co host, Jessica Neighbor. I'm a voice coach for vocalists and public speakers online at Impact Vocal Coaching. We are girlfriends in real life, and in every episode, we'll discuss a different hot topic about becoming wise women, recovering from being a good girl, and not giving a bleep anymore.
If you identify as a girlfriend of any age and you want to join our conversation, join us on Instagram, YouTube, and girlfriendsofacertainage.com. Welcome back for another episode of Girlfriends of a Certain Age. I'm your co-host, Fleshay.
And I'm your co host, Jessica.
We're girlfriends from a long time back. And today we are tackling something that made us both sit up straight, straighten our spines, made our hearts open, and us just say, yes, yes, yes. And that is the documentary by our girl, J-Lo, called Halftime. If you haven't seen it yet, it's on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
I might even recommend you hit pause on this right now. Go watch that and come back and listen to our commentary, our girlfriend chat
Mm-hmm.
about this topic because it spoke to us in such a deep way.
Yes.
It brought us closer. If
Yeah.
we could even get closer as such good friends, it was
Yeah.
just such a beautiful topic to see a woman watch her turn 50, watch her not be afraid to turn 50, say how old she is, and to see her at the top of her game.
Mm-hmm.
I personally wrote down a few quotes that I want to talk about a little bit. I know you have a lot you want to talk about on this topic,
Mm-hmm.
Jessica.
Mm-hmm.
But I say we just jump right in and
Ooh.
and
Ooh, let's do it. Let's
celebrate J Lo.
what's one of the quotes? Let's start it off with a quote. I want to hear.
Yeah, the first one is, and this was at the beginning of the movie or the
Uh-huh.
documentary. She says, "I really feel like my life is just beginning." I get
Wow.
chills even just remembering it. So I just rewatched it again last night, so I'd be
Mm,
really fresh for this conversation today.
mm.
And it's what it spoke to from. I'll say what it spoke to for me, and then I'll hand it off to you, which is that I was like, finally, there's a role model who's
Mm.
really going to own it. And she's saying how I feel on the inside, which is that
Yeah.
I'm 49. I'll be turning
Mm-hmm.
50 as well soon.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I am the best I've been yet.
Yes.
I feel happier, more in control of my life. I've surrounded by good, healthy, nurturing relationships.
Yes.
Like like her, I've taken all this pain and I've composted it into a
Yeah.
beautiful life for myself. And so to see her be a role model for that, and then to, of course watch her rock it, at the halftime show and everything else that happens in between, just made me say, yes, I'm so
Yes.
happy and proud to be a woman of a certain age.
Thank
And
you.
now I've got a role model too,
There
who's
you
like
go.
owning it and naming it
Yes.
out loud.
Yes,
But
I feel the same exact way that like she's in her prime and she's just going to get better. So often when we watch these documentaries about people of our certain age, both women and men, it's like the over the hill. It's like the retrospect. Let's look back at all of the things that J Lo did in her prime. No, I feel like she is just like getting better and better. And I'm so excited to see what she's going to do. But this was absolutely a celebration of an artist and of a woman who is just in her prime and relishing it.
relishing it. And then also in the documentary, it
Yeah.
wasn't just like, look how fabulous I am, right? Or how I can rock this pole, or how I can do this, or,
Yeah.
I'm doing, playing at such a high level. We also saw her struggle as a mom, and then a single mom, and the
Mhm.
way too that the society hasn't really wanted to celebrate her the way, at least the way I've always thought she's so fabulous,
So
right? But
fabulous.
watching how people would even say to her face, like, how do you feel about your butt? Right? I'm like,
Honestly,
so inappropriate. Nobody would say that to a man,
no, no.
right? But to a woman who's like, oh, I'm here, to promote my next movie, and
Yeah.
then to be used
Yeah.
as, well, let's make you smaller,
Yep.
and let's focus on something that some people just find very surprising, like
Yeah.
that she'd be curvy,
Yeah.
and so I don't know. I found her bravery and her clarity and her honesty very refreshing.
Yes, she's very straight up. She's like very, very like New York style, straight up. She's going to tell you what she feels. I mean, my goodness, when she took on the NFL, and I know we'll get to that in our podcast, but just the directness with which she was talking to people just cut through all the nonsense. So it was really refreshing to hear these moments when she's talking with people, be it her dancers or, her stylists, and be very straight up about what she liked and didn't like. This is a woman who knows herself and, yes, to your point, has had to, really take a stand for herself. Even the way that they gave her this halftime, which is like, I don't think you get a larger stage as a performer, but then they gave her half of the halftime, right? And they gave the other half
Right.
to Shakira, who's a wonderful and talented woman, female Latina artist too. But like, really, like you're gonna give like the two Latina women only half of the halftime? There was just something that felt like, again, like you're saying, she was being compartmentalized somehow. And, be it her body or be it like her talent and how much time we're going to give her. And then when we got to get that realness from her, it was like, wow, that has been her saving grace. It's just this directness. I just really, really appreciated that. And I think anyone who watches it will feel that. And especially if you can relate to like New Yorker style directness, it's this very, very specific cultural way of just being like, nope.
Well, and
Nope.
what do women get called that in the
Ah,
workplace or in families when they stand up and say no? They usually get called the B word.
oh yeah.
Or she got called the D word, which is diva, right? There's a
Yes.
whole section on what a diva she is. But when men stand up and say what they need, what they will accept, how things are going to go, they're seen as great leaders and
Yes.
clear, and you know where you stand with him. But when a woman does it, it's somehow seen as dangerous and quite
Mm-hmm.
subversive.
Yeah.
And for me, watching her take on the NFL and say with such clarity, and we don't really know how that all worked out with the feminine symbol and the cages on the field. I don't know,
Yeah.
not really sure how she pushed that forward. They didn't
Yeah.
show that part. But when they just cut to the scene and you see her vision in place, it was like, yes,
Yeah. And for
right?
those of you who maybe haven't watched this, the things that she was having to talk about with the NFL were the shape of her stage, because she has the female sex symbol the shape of her stage, but she also wanted to make a human right statement. So she put some children, including her own daughter, in these cages because this was at the time when Trump was the president and there was a huge battle going on at our borders with families being torn apart. And she just felt like that was something that she couldn't not comment on. So she was having this conversation. They are showing you, her having the conversation, and we're hearing it on her end where she's discussing with an NFL person about these things. And she's sure they're going to shut down the cage idea. But they had a greater issue with the gender symbol. How about that for you?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, what I hear is, and they picked these two beautiful goddesses
Yeah.
who can dance their asses off,
Oh my God.
right? And
Yes.
so it almost, the image that I get is like, we'll take the hot, sexy brown women who will
Mm.
come and sing, get everybody excited, but we don't want the fullness. We don't
Uh-huh.
want we don't want their message, and we don't want them rocking the boat, and we don't want them making anyone comfortable. We
Right.
want them to come and entertain,
Yes.
right? And I feel
Yes.
like there's like this compartmentalizing instead of seeing the fullness of every single thing that they intended and did deliver. I
They
think
did.
they did deliver their vision. I was so
Yep.
impressed.
And I think she did, right? Even in the confines, which is very like symbolic for her whole journey, even in the confines, she's like, oh no, I will bust it out. I will do the poll. I will do a statement. I will weave in born in the USA. And oh my God, can we just talk about the flag? The section where she had the Puerto Rican flag on one side and the American flag, and she was wearing it. I just thought that was so amazing. So she's like, okay, you're giving me this much. All right, I'm just going to turn it into pure gold. And I just loved that for her.
Absolutely. And then I actually wrote this down. But while we're watching that section where she has the two flags and her daughter carries it off,
Yeah.
everyone is singing "Let's Get Loud." Like all these women, that was the song that was happening at the same time.
Yes.
Let's get loud. No more sitting back. No more keeping our mouth shut. It feeds in so beautifully to really our purpose in doing this show together
Yeah.
is recovering good girls ourselves. We are
Mm-hmm.
tired of keeping our own mouths shut, right? And at some
Mm-hmm.
point, we as women do it to ourselves. Other women are doing it to us, reminding us, well, don't rock the boat. Don't
Yeah.
don't get loud. Don't be
Right.
sexy. What are you doing? Cover it
Yes.
up. Keep quiet. Keep your head
Right.
down.
Right.
Don't
You're
make
you're 50
waves.
for God's sake.
You're
Like
of a
keep
certain
that to the youngins.
age.
Yeah. What are you doing? You're gonna hurt yourself. You're gonna pull something.
Yeah.
Oh my
And
God.
so she's reminding us, and it's happening in these little girl voices too, as the background singers. Let's get
Oh.
loud. I mean, so I rewatching it last night. I have tears. I welled up with tears like
Mm.
7 times. And it happened to me the first time I watched this too.
Hmm.
Um, I was just so struck by how perfect, I mean, for the message for me personally at this stage of my
Mm.
life, but
Mm-hmm.
also for every other woman, every other young woman of a certain
Yes.
age, no matter what age someone is
Yes.
watching that. I feel like she really held up that flag for
Yes,
us to
she
be
did.
all of who we are.
Yes. And she was so sweet with the girls, her having her own daughter and the way she spoke to them at the rehearsal, the way she spoke to her young dancers and was really telling them to like, go for it, go for it. Her work ethic, her dance ethic, and how she really like wanted excellence from everyone around her. But I was so impressed that her tone could shift. So this is kind of like talking about Jennifer Lopez as, an entrepreneur business badass that she could, turn to her young dancers and be the girls and be really sweet and motherly and maternal and let them all hug her. And they're having these group hugs and she looks like a glamorous mother goose or something. And then in the next minute, she's talking to like her hip hop, boys and girls, like young adults, where she's like, "Oh, I was a fly girl on In Living Color. Let me tell you. Let me tell you what I expect from you, and let me tell you what the industry is going to expect from you." So she's like mentoring them, and just like how she was able to really meet people where they were. I thought was something that has watching her as an actor has really informed her acting, that she's very sensitive and empathetic and can read the room. And I think when we were watching the documentary, Shay, one thing that jumped out at me, sorry, Flashay, I always call you Shay, is that she, even though she has this exterior that is so glamorous, right? The blonde highlights and the like bling bling water holder and all of these things that are kind of over the top. She's very sensitive. I think, I don't know Jennifer, but there's like a empathy that you feel from her deeply. And so I think that she has used that in her acting. She's used that in her interpersonal skills, in the way she's had to negotiate her business and, work with different people. And it's really, you can really see her using it in a way that I feel like was very refreshing to see a mature woman using that. And like we're talking about being direct, but with care, with nuance, and it really came across at different moments of the film, and also made me feel very emotional. Like this is someone who deeply, deeply understands people.
And there was something too. Most of us walk through the world and we're only dealing with the things that are right in front of us. And what she was teaching those dancers in particular, and this is what I saw, was she
Mm,
was zooming out. She was teaching them how to zoom out and zoom in at the same time. How do we hold two perspectives? And she's like,
Ooh.
so I'm looking around and I'm looking at, am I in step with you guys? And I'm looking at, does the camera got me? She was showing them how you can,
Yes.
there's a way to get big enough to hold all of it. And the looks on their faces too, kind of like, huh? Because you also could see they got it. By the time they were at the halftime show, everybody got
Yes.
it. They were
Yes.
all, voguing for the camera and perfectly in sync with each other. And she
Yeah.
invited that in. And to me, that there's a wisdom in that. There's one thing to
Yes.
learn. I know how to do it and I'll hold it, but it's something else to teach you to
Yeah.
hold that. And that's a life skill. That's not just how do I be on the stage with the fabulous J-Lo, but how can I bring that into my life
Yeah.
in every single thing I do, every
Yeah.
interaction that I have.
Yeah. That's so important, definitely. And that we're a team, we're a unit here. Like we have to lift each other up. We have to be in sync. This isn't just like the one woman show. Today's episode is brought to you by Impact Vocal Coaching. Do you need to improve your public speaking skills? You can increase your confidence and skill with my new training course. It's called Impact, the Essential Public Speaking Course for your online and in person presentations with me, voice coach Jessica Neighbor. You will improve your speaking effectiveness for your meetings, for your podcasts, and for your social gatherings with girlfriends of a certain age. I'm an international voice coach and author, and I've been teaching professionally for 20 years. You'll learn valuable speech skills in my streamlined 6-step process. And listeners of Girlfriends of a Certain Age get 2 bonuses when you join soon. You can join the Impact Vocal Coaching course at impactvocalcoaching.com. Hope to see you inside. Stay calm and speak on.
Let's do another quote.
Ooh, let's do it.
So she said that she wanted to be someone who is for other women, quote, that they would say, when I saw you on stage, I knew I could be there too.
Mm.
That for me, what that says to me, or what it sparked alive in me, is our own, live into our own greatness. We're
Mm-hmm.
showing other people that they can be great too. And
Mm-hmm.
for me as a business coach for entrepreneurs, everybody I've speak to like has a book inside of them, has a podcast, has a business they want to start,
Yeah.
but most people will never do it. Most people will never take the step because they're too afraid to
Yeah.
to get out there. And so that's why it's so important for when you do have the energy and you do have the guts to get out there and start your business or your podcast or your book or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And you will take criticism and people may not take you seriously or may not even like what you put out. That's not the point. The point is that you do what you know you are meant to do. And the first iteration of it, or like the first pancake, may not be that great. And
Mm-hmm.
I love that she wants to be that for the rest of
Mm-hmm.
us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that is what can even open up for us at 50. For me to think about, yeah, I still feel like my best years are still yet to come.
Yes.
And she
And
was
you
saying that.
Right. And it's so important to watch it because like you were saying before, we don't want to minimize her, as, J-Lo, the woman who wore the racy Versace dress or, these different like the Beneford years, like it really minimizes what she's doing and just how inspiring she is. Because like you're saying, she's really like not only doing her purpose, but multiple purposes, the singing, the acting, the dancing. And when she started off as the dancer and then people told her that she couldn't act and then she went ahead and starred in Selena and then people said you can't sing and then she made all these great hits come to life. She just kept speaking to her own truth. So like you're saying, we can be our own worst critic, right? And we know she had critics out in the real world, but boy, whatever inner critic Jennifer has had, she has been able to tune out and move through it, or maybe in spite of it, show herself and show us just like how multi-talented she is. She's doing it all. And I remember in the film her talking about some of her inspirations from musical theater, Rita Moreno, and how she could sing and act and dance. And here she is doing it in a very fresh, contemporary way.
Absolutely. Her own way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. And unapologetically. And what I take from that and what I want to amplify through this
Yes.
conversation
Yeah.
is that that is our secret sauce. That is the
Hmm.
secret sauce for us to take the things that we're ashamed of and things that the trauma and the drama that's happened to us or that we created and the good things and really all of it, the light and the dark, bring all of that together, heal it,
Mm.
kind of digest it, and then use that for fuel to bring our best selves into the world. And I think that doing that, especially at midlife, is such a powerful time because that's when so many of us have the energy because our perspective is shifting,
Yeah.
right? Like you and I still have, pretty young kids at home, but at some point they will move on, they will move out, they will get launched. And
Yeah.
then, it's not that many more years we're going to have our kids living with us. We'll
No,
have far more years with them off doing their own adventures.
that's right.
And who are you? Who am I? Who is every woman of a certain age?
Yeah.
And what greatness can we bring forward now at this stage of life
And
with
we have so
gusto?
much. We have so much to offer, as Jennifer Lopez is demonstrating. We have so much. We have perspective, we have experience, and it was really wonderful to watch her, also to see like her journey and the ups and downs. Also, how did you feel the film? How did you feel about walking through the whole award, uh, you know, roller coaster ride she was going on when her film Hustlers? Loved it. If you haven't seen it, please go out and watch it. It is amazing. Uh, got nominated. How did you feel the film handled that section of her life and going to the awards and all of that?
I thought it was so refreshing because most people at a certain level, are powerful enough to say, let's minimize the bad stuff. Let's not have that in
Mm-hmm.
there. I'm going to rewrite history and let's leave that out. The fact that it was such an integral part of the story
Mm-hmm.
that she really went for it and
Yeah.
she brought her greatness, and there was all of this acknowledgement that it was great, that she's
Yeah.
great, that the acting was great, that the whole project, the way it was put together, an all female set, everything that in the making of the movie
Yes.
just felt, the way they talked about it felt so different and refreshing, that she got snubbed.
Mm.
Also, I mean, for me, as a woman of color, that there was this line where they interviewed Ben Affleck, and I guess he was
Mm-hmm.
saying that she was saying, I expect it not to be fair, right? That there's certain
Yeah.
members of society for whom it's not fair. We
Yeah.
don't get treated fairly, and
Right.
so we kind of expect it.
Yep.
And he was so shocked, but he
Yes.
didn't expect it. As a white
No.
man, is like, but that's not fair.
Right.
And
A
she's
white
like, yeah,
cisgender male. And she's like, I'm a woman. I'm Latina. I expect this.
exactly.
Hmm.
And so I think it was so great to just sort of connect the dots, to connect
Yes.
the dots. Some people will hear this and be like, "Oh, you're making excuses," and all right, that's a perspective as well.
Hmm.
Um, but for me, as a woman of color who's also
Hmm.
not been taken seriously, I think so much in my life people have underestimated me, but I've turned that into my superpower. You go right
Hmm.
ahead and underestimate me. You go
Hmm.
right ahead. And I felt like there was a little bit of her doing that too,
Yeah.
because we was it a week after she got snubbed by the Oscars, she's
Yes.
killing it on the biggest stage in the world.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it felt a little bit like, well, back at
Yeah.
you, right?
Absolutely.
And then someone said something, yeah, but something we don't know about these award shows is that they're often, people need to know that you need to win. And
Mm.
Jennifer Lopez is already at the top of her game.
Oh,
And so I
interesting.
do wonder if that sort of played it. I don't know anything about the psychology of how people pick these winners. It all seems very
Right.
political and,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know,
Yeah. And I
far,
mean,
far
yeah.
away and
Right.
a little bit inconsequential to in
Yeah.
my life. But
Yeah.
I did think that was an interesting statement to make.
I
Um,
also had an opinion on it, which was that it shows that she's still human, right? Even though she's this sort of like super celebrity, that she has her disappointments and, the higher the highs, the lower the lows. But also, I did really feel that as, a performer myself, that we have to share the stage more. And it was really frustrating. There was a shot where they were sharing like the different nominees, and they were all white women. And, it was like, oh, here we go again. They won't let us in. And I just think that we have to have a bigger cultural discussion. And I think we are these days, especially the Oscars. They've definitely gotten a lot of heat lately. But just to say, who are we celebrating? Who do we keep, giving these awards to, and why? And also, I think the movie Hustlers that Jennifer did was really confusing for people, right? Like the subject matter and the fact that it was so feminine, like people didn't quite know what to make of it, but it's really a brilliant film on so many levels. And her performance was freaking captivating. You could not take your eyes off of her. And can we just acknowledge that her pole dancing is insanely good? They show how she had to learn it with a time crunch, and she just took it on, made it look effortless, looked so strong and gorgeous at the same time, which I just love to see. I love to see females who are looking beautiful and strong. It's like, yay, not having to deal with the waif look, which she came into in her industry in the 90s. Everyone's like a waif, and they all like ate a cracker for the day. And here she is, just in all of her fullness, in all of her curves, doing these insanely technical moves up on a pole and just being like, pow. So she should have won the Oscar just for that. I mean, come on.
Just for that alone.
Yeah.
No, it was great. And I think too, there was something that I noticed is that she's living her purpose, and she's a hard worker.
Yes.
And she keeps saying yes to herself. Even when she gets no's around her, she's keeping her own counsel.
Yes,
and that
is
one of the gifts that become of getting older, and our own wisdom keepers. So one of the things that it seems to me that she's no longer giving a shit about in her life is someone else saying no. She even said at the end, she was giving us a speech to entrepreneurs who she's going to be supporting, and she said, just remember, no is not an answer, it's an opportunity. Right.
Boom.
And then we saw her put that in play.
Yes.
Right. By getting that movie made and starring in it, and then pushing so hard. So, because it turns out you have to campaign to get an Oscar nomination.
Yeah.
And so as she just kept saying yes to her own knowledge, wisdom inside of her that said, this is what matters. And this is what I throw my entire weight and energy and abilities and brand behind.
And that is so beautiful, because that should be our compass.
What do I want? What do I need? What do I feel is the right course of action?
Yes.
What story do I believe?
That's right.
Because too many of us have spent too much time listening to the thoughts, opinions, and feelings of other people.
That's right.
And then making our own, changing our lives around it.
Right. And we're not living our true lives, because we can only live our life. We can only walk our walk and live our own journey. But if we're so outside of ourselves, if we're so concerned with what other people think, or if we get so discouraged and impacted by what people have told us, then we're really not going to be able to live our full lives. And, as a voice coach, when I'm working with young performers, especially who are going out on auditions, or public speakers as well, who are sort of under the scrutiny of the public eye, this is the thing that you're trying to remind them of, which is that you want to go by your own compass and your own belief system. We don't want to look for it outside of ourselves, because that doesn't follow through like we think it will. So all the accolades and all of the even the awards, right? They come and they go, but that inner compass, that inner voice that's staying, coming back home to, what do I value? What do I care about? What's my perspective on this thing? That's what's really going to feed your next step in your journey. Right? It's not what people are telling you to do and what people are valuing about you. It's what's inside of yourself. And that's why this Girlfriends of a Certain Age journey that we're on together right now is so exciting, because we don't know. we don't know where we're going to go. We don't exactly know. All we know is that we're really enjoying where we are right now, and that we're trusting our inner compass every step of the way. And I do really think that Jennifer Lopez in Halftime demonstrated that so beautifully. I mean, whew, with all the pressures and all the demands, you really did feel like, her inner practice, whatever that is that she does for herself, is solid.
Is solid. And to see that progression too, right? To go
Mm.
from, oh, I used to only write songs about love to, yeah, I'm not political. I live after other people. And then saying, no,
Hmm.
I have a voice. I have this platform. I'm going to use it for good. The good
Yeah.
that my internal compass is telling me is good. And I want to encourage every woman listening to this right now to do that for herself.
Hmm.
What is your compass saying is right for you? Is right for you, and you might need to cover your ears and stop listening to the outside world for a little bit to get to understand what that is for you,
Yeah.
because that's where all of our brilliance lives.
Because we're only at the halftime of our lives.
Only at the we're only at the halftime. I love it.
We got a whole second half. I wanted to ask you a question about the family dynamics that we got to see just a little slice of. What did you make about there's that scene where her I think it was Hustler film just got nominated, and she just got nominated, and she's on a family thread, and they're talking about a football game on Sunday, and they're all, to going back and forth, and like one sister's like, hey, don't forget Jennifer just got nominated for an Oscar. And they're like, anyways, football. I thought
Right.
there was something so
Oh,
interesting.
is
Like,
the premiere. Her movie premiered.
a movie
Yeah,
premiere. There's something so humbling about that. But like, I wonder how
exactly.
she felt about that?
Right. Well, what I saw and heard and felt from that was my family doesn't see me in my greatness. You
Uh,
know, I became great despite the fact that these people don't honor me and don't celebrate my wins.
mm,
And I go elsewhere and get that. And so I'm just
mm-hmm.
going to respond, go Jets, because I can see what they have available to give me,
Yeah.
and it's nothing.
Yeah.
It's nothing. And so if I want to be a part of this family still, I'll just phone it in.
Yeah.
Yeah, just type back, go Jets. And
Yeah.
then she's sitting there with her entourage being filmed for her own damn documentary,
Right.
and she's like, yeah, I don't get seen
Yeah.
for who and what I am in my
Yes.
fullness from those people. I'm
Yeah.
still connected with them, but my heart gets taken care of in other ways, and I'm in charge of that. And
Yes.
that's what I took from home from that. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I felt like an ouch because I just felt like, wait a minute, a normal family should be like losing their mind right now. Like that is huge. That is huge news. And for a second, I thought, well, this is Jennifer just such a public figure now that they're all burned out and they're trying to kind of normalize her. And I thought, no, she really did get dissed. She really got dismissed in that exchange. And yeah, it's like, wow, you can be a huge celebrity, but you never know what the interpersonal family dynamics are going on. And I thought that was, just a glimpse, and without knowing anything about her family, so I don't want to, make any huge generalizations. I completely agree that it felt like she's not fully seen in her family the way she could be, and that was a little bit of an ouch moment. I was like,
I
oh.
thought that scene was very ouchy, and I honestly, I think that is normal in most families. I do think
Hmm.
there's, like, I'm hearing a phrase in my head of like, don't get too big for your britches.
There you
I
go.
remember a female relative saying that to me one time. Don't get too big for your britches, Fleshay. And I was
Oh
like,
yeah.
what do you mean?
Yeah.
I just, there's something great just happened. Oh, and you don't want to acknowledge it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Got it. I'm not going to go to you for that. And so I think this happens to us all the time.
Yeah.
And I think you said in a normal family, she would get acknowledged. And I actually think from the people that I know, it's not normal always to have family be
That is
like
a really good point.
celebrating. Like there might be one or two people who do that. But as a context,
Yeah.
when people change too much in a family dynamic, people freak out and get really weird.
It's a really, really good point. You're right. You're
And when a
right.
woman gets too big and stands
Mm,
for what she wants and says who she is and won't back down, she even more gets pushed to the side of like, we don't know how to deal with that. We
mm-hmm.
need her to stay smaller so we can control a little bit more, and her responses and her actions can be more predictable. I think that
Yes.
happens to women all the time.
I think that's a really, really good point. And her mom felt like a tough lady. Like the scene when they're preparing Thanksgiving,
Mm.
and she was kind of like, throwing salt in Jennifer's game about like the dish she was preparing. But then you also felt like the strength from Jennifer of like, oh, I know this dynamic here. I was like, oh yeah, that's a tough relationship right there.
Yeah, for
Hmm.
those who haven't seen the scene, Jennifer's
Mm.
making something. The mom, who everyone is saying, mom doesn't cook. Jennifer's cooking, and the bunch of people over, and you could see she's just like really going for it.
Yeah.
Mom comes over. Let me come over and taste if it's good. Let me see it. And I mean that is such. I mean, I don't know her mom, but
Yeah.
that is a narcissistic. That is a common theme in narcissistic abusive relationships. We're like, let me see if you're any good. Let me see
Hmm.
about this, and then Jennifer just mom said, yeah, too much vinegar, and Jennifer says, no, it isn't. It's really good.
She held her
Just
own.
owns it. She was like,
Yes.
don't eat my vinegary food. I don't
That's
like.
right.
I don't care.
That's right.
Yeah, I thought it was very surprising because that
Uh-huh.
was very overt. That was a
Yes.
very overt and aggressive way of being.
Yes, it
It makes me
was.
wonder how much longer mom's going to be invited to Thanksgiving. When you act like that in my house, you don't get invited over. You know, I
Yeah.
wasn't saying that, 15 years ago, but I'm strong enough to say it now.
Yeah, it's a really good point. Yeah, I thought
Yeah.
that was an intense moment.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think Jennifer is giving us a lot to think about. She is putting
Yes.
herself out there in a very vulnerable, raw, and real way. And she's giving each and every one of us permission to do the exact same thing in our lives.
Yeah, yeah. So, from some ladies, Jennifer, we just want to say thank you. Like, hopefully you feel seen, because I think that this documentary did a beautiful job of really like showing, the parts of you that you wanted to share with the world. And I think that we really were able to take that in, and we so appreciate it. Yeah, I just can't thank her and her team and the documentary maker enough for just really like showcasing so much for us. It was delightful. It was a really fun watch.
It really was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, girlfriends,
Yes.
I would love to hear your comments on this too. Like
Yeah. What'd you think?
we're just
Yeah.
chit chatting and saying our things from our own perspectives, but add your voice to the conversation as well with the comments down below. You're welcome to join our email list, get more information about stuff that we're up to, and you can also follow us on Instagram and on YouTube.
That's right. We want to hear what you thought of JLo's halftime. That would be super fun.
All right. Till next time, girlfriends. Bye.
Bye. Thank you for tuning in today to Girlfriends of a Certain Age podcast.
Do you have a girlfriend who needs to hear this message? Share this episode with her. She will love you forever.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, rate, and comment wherever you get your podcasts.
Stay tuned for more episodes where we discuss more hot topics about girlfriends living their best lives. You can follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and girlfriendsofacertainage.com.